Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Givaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Givaradhari Jaya Yasodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Givaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Givaradhari Jaya Yasodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Go Haribo, 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 go Haribo. Go Haribo, 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 go Haribo. Jayam Vishnupā Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Aśnute Śrimad Isvara Prabhu Bhakti-vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupā Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Aśnute Śrimad Bhakti-vedanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem Sri Kausi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Go Bhakta Vrinda ki. Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhana ki. Vrindavan Dham ki. Mayapur Dham ki. Dwarka Dham ki. Jagannath Dham ki. Gangama Yamuna Maya ki. Tasi Devi Bhakti Devi ki. Sri Krishna Balaram ki. Sri Radha Shama Sundar ki. Sri Sitaram Lakshmana Maji ki. Sri Lalita Vishaka Astashaka Vrinda ki. Harinam Sankirtan ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. Nitai Gopi Minande. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru Gauranga. Maybe you can take this or not. Om Jnana Chimandasya Ganagana Salakaya Chakshusumiltan Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishna Stapita Yena Bhutale Sanyarupa Kadamanya Dadati Sapatantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sita Parakamalan Sri Guru Vaishnavascha Sri Rupam Sakajata Sagana Raghunatha Vitanatan Sajivam Sadhuitan Sabadutan Parijana Saita Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padasahagana Lalita Sri Vishakavitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kantu Radha Kantu Namastute Tata Kanchana Gorange Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripi Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindhi Vacha Patitanam Pavanavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraja Govindaya Namo Namo Vasudeva Sutan Devan Dev Kansat Brahmadanan Devaki Paramananda Krishna Bande Jagaguru Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananda Lila Maya Vigraya Mabada Vicha Visandaraja Tasma Maha Premara Padaya Chaitanya Chandra Namaste. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening for our Bhagavad-Gita class, and also for those who are watching from Vrindavan TV. So hopefully something can be gotten from listening to this discussion. It's chapter 6 of the Bhagavad-Gita. Today is text 28. Dhyan Yoga. It's 28, right? 28 text. Okay. So Lord Krishna is speaking to Arjuna about the meditation, the yoga meditation, Dhyan Yoga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, for the past 20 texts, Lord Krishna has been speaking to Arjuna about the process of yoga, the yoga process. The yoga process, which involves detachment from all that is material and the concentration on the Supreme. Which means detach senses from all the external sense objects and focus within. To focus on the Super Soul or on the Supreme Lord. So this is the importance of this process being described in this 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. So Lord Krishna, who is the Yogeshwara himself, is the Supreme Yogi, so he can describe the process of becoming a true yogi, a perfect yogi. Now, Krishna being a Yogeshwara, it doesn't mean that he performed yoga, he became a yogi, and then he became Yogeshwara, he became God. No, that is not the way. He's always God. He's Yogeshwara because everything is coming from him. All potencies, all austerities, all part of mysticism, it's all originated from him only. So therefore, it's the Yogeshwara. No matter how powerful one can be in this material world, no one can be as powerful as the Lord himself. And there are many, many narrations in the Puranas to attest to this fact. Many, many narrations are there. So first we read the text, and then we go on the deliberation on what's been discussed. So Bhagavad-Gita text, chapter 6, text 28. Yuñjan evaṁ sadātmānaṁ.
Yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ.
Yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ.
Yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ.
Sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam.
Sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam.
Atyantaṁ sukham aśnute.
Atyantam sukham aśnute.
Yuñjan evaṁ sadātmānaṁ.
Yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ.
Yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ.
Yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ.
Sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam.
Sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam.
Atyantaṁ sukham aśnute.
Atyantam sukham aśnute.
Yuñjan evaṁ sadātmānaṁ.
Yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ.
Yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ.
Yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ.
Sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam.
Sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam.
Atyantaṁ sukham aśnute.
Atyantam sukham aśnute. Yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ. Yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ. sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam atyantam sukham aśnute
yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ
yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ
yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam
brahma-saṁsparśam
atyantam sukham aśnute
atyantam sukham aśnute
yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ
yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ
yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ
yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam atyantam sukham aśnute
yuñjanam eva sadātmānaṁ
yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ
yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ
yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ
sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam
sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam
atyantam sukham aśnute
atyantam sukham aśnute.
Anybody else?
yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ
yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ
yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ
yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ
sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam
sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam
atyantam sukham aśnute
atyantam sukham aśnute.
Yuñjan, engaging in yoga practice, evam, thus, sadā, always, ātmānam, the self, yogī, one who is in touch with the Supreme Self,
One who is in touch with
vigata, freed from kalmaṣaḥ, all material contamination,
all material contamination,
sukhena, in transcendental happiness, brahma-saṁsparśam, being in constant touch with the Supreme,
being constant
atyantam,
atyantam,
the highest, sukham, happiness, aśnute, attains. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki. Thus, the self-realized, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. Sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam. Purport. Self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. The individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, and its position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact with the Supreme is called brahma-saṁsparśam. Winter season. So, yuñjan evam sadātmānaṁ yogī vigata-kalmaṣaḥ sukhena brahma-saṁsparśam atyantam sukham aśnute. So the Brahma Sukha is mentioned in this text, the spiritual happiness that normally for one who constantly practice yoga, yogin abhyas means to practice. Just like when Arjuna asked Krishna that the mind is very difficult to control. Because Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that because the yoga, once practice yoga, first the mind must be brought under control. Because unless the mind is brought under control, it's difficult to really focus to practice yoga. Because the mind is all the senses are grouped around the mind. And the mind is always desiring something. Chanchala Imana Krishna. The mind accepts something and rejects something. So the mind has to be brought under control. But Arjuna is telling Krishna that, my dear Krishna, it's so difficult to control the mind. And to control and I think one can bring wind under control, the wind, than controlling the mind. So Arjuna is telling Krishna that to control the mind it may be possible to control the wind, by you. It may be possible, but it's not possible to control the mind, because the mind is always, a big rascal. The mind, the mind is always difficult. But Lord Krishna said, yes, the mind is difficult, but it's possible by constant practice and detachment. First, one must have the determination to be detached from all the sense objects. Because no matter where one is, everywhere you look, wherever you hear, whatever you smell, it's all attracting. It's all attracting to the senses. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that it has to be by constant practice, which means wherever the mind may go wandering, one has to be forcibly bring it, divert the attention. Force, which means Krishna said by force, but this has to be constant. Yogī and abhyasa, constant practice. And that's one of the reasons why in the beginning of this instruction that Lord Krishna says that to practice yoga, one must go to the forest. One must go to the forest or to a secluded place in order to practice yoga. So why is that one has to go to a secluded place? Because if one in a crowded place, especially city environment, where there's so many noises, so many things, TVs, this, that, music and all that. So it's difficult to practice self-realization. Difficult. In an environment that is very, very noisy, that is very, and there's always something that is calling upon the senses that come and enjoy, come and hear good music. For example, everybody loves to hear good music. He has some sound and say, oh, this is a new, this musician is good, this is my favorite. Let me hear. In the Bhagavad-Gita, when Lord Krishna was talking to Arjuna, he was talking to Uddhava. So Lord Krishna was talking to Uddhava about how a hunter he was able to, the way a hunter captivates a deer is by playing music. So by playing this flute, playing music, so the hunter became captivated, and then the deer became captivated, and then the hunter is able to kill the deer. So which means that because everyone is attracted to good music, good songs. So therefore, there has to be a way to block that. So Krishna said that a yogi, a person who wants to practice yoga, has to go to a secluded place, a quiet place, a quiet environment, whereby there will be no chance for different noises. There will be no chance for hearing music or shout at the people, anything like that. There will be no such chance. At least when you're in the secluded area, especially in the forest, that chance will not be there. So therefore, it's more easier to practice meditation. It's more easier to practice sense control. So And of course, now before I go further, one must go to a secluded place, and he mentioned that how when one is in a secluded environment, that one must get a kusa grass. That you sit on the kusa grass, and then you sit on a straight line, and then perform your yoga meditation, perform breathing control, and all that. So why mentioning going to the forest? Because one has to be able to conquer fear. One has to be fearless. The fearlessness must be there. And then, of course, the whole idea of kusa grass is that I heard that with the kusa, if you want to sit on the kusa grass in the forest, that one does not have to be afraid of the snake. That the kusa grass, they don't like snake. So when you sit on the kusa grass, the snake will not come near you. So I never, so that's what they say. I don't have a practical experience of that, but he said that when you sit on the kusa grass, the snake will not come. So the idea is that how when one is in a secluded place, like in the forest, the fear has to be conquered. One has to, nothing's going to attack me. Whereas if one become afraid, then because if one is afraid, he tries to practice yoga. So because of being afraid, then the mind will constantly be agitated. So the mind will be agitated, and then when his mind is full of agitation because of fear, so how can you practice yoga? So therefore, the first thing is to conquer the yoga. Is to conquer the fear. Is to be free from fear. That's a very, very first thing. So now in our present day, because after all, we have come to Krishna consciousness, and yes, even though we are reading the chapters of yoga system, and that doesn't mean that we have been told to go to the forest. After all, many of us who came from the West, Krishna consciousness was practiced being in the city, So now, when you are coming in the beginning, when you are coming to join the movement, then the fear that what's going to happen if my family comes to take me from it to come and look for me in the temple. What's going to happen? So which means there has to be that. Which means that consideration of what's about is if my family find where I am. Like many of us, when we joined, we were very, very, very young. I joined when I was 18 years old. Many of us were young when we joined. So the fear that, okay, my family will come, and then they will come and take me away. And especially in the early days, many devotees, they drop out of school. Many of us, we jump. Many of us, when we were in college, we drop out because we want to pursue Krishna consciousness. Because nowadays, that's no more. It's no longer there nowadays. But so, which means the determination to be Krishna conscious was there. The determination, which means one is no longer afraid that, okay, that the family will not be a consideration. The so-called development of career is not a consideration. The only consideration is to becoming Krishna conscious. Is to practice Krishna consciousness. That's the only consideration, especially the way it was presented to us by Srila Prabhupada, the way it was presented to us, that yes, you practice Krishna consciousness, and then you go back to God. After all, you don't belong to this material world. You don't belong here. You are not a member of this material world. Like in this short purport here, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that a person must realize that yes, one is eternally part and parcel of Krishna. That one is not, one has to understand one's identity what is your identity? Who are you? You know, if I ask you, who are you? And you say that, oh, my name is so and so, and I come from this place, from that place, that is not your identity. That's your false identification. If you are identifying yourself with this material body, because the material body is temporary, so which means in the material world, you've had so many identities. In this material world, you've had so many fathers and mothers. So who can you really say that, oh, this is my mother, this is my father, I come from this family, I come from that family, I come from this city, I come from this country? Because you've had millions and millions and millions of them. But under illusion, we think that, oh, my name is so and so, and I come from this place, this is my family. This is just illusion. It does not really relate to our identity. It's not really to our identity. Prabhu said was that Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nitya. That's that Jiva is eternal. What he said, the eternal identity of a Jiva is that of a servant of Krishna. That's the eternal identity of a Jiva. But forgetting this identity, one is in the material world. And being in the material world, so you become a traveler in the material world. And being a traveler, then you have to travel from one body to another body, from one species to another species. You know, when you read the Bhagavatam, third canto Bhagavatam, you can read the story of King Puranjana. So, you know, if you read third canto Bhagavatam, it's not, I think, the fourth canto. That's fourth canto Bhagavatam. So you read the story of King Puranjana, which is basically the story of all living entities. Puranjana means a very ancient person, you know, whereby he was a king, and then he died, and he became a queen, and then he became a queen, then he got married, and then when he got married, and then the husband died, and then she was lamenting for the husband. So he said, he has to come, say that, look, this is not you. Previously you were a king, and you know, this is not you. Your identity, you're a spirit soul, you're not the body. This body is temporary. This body is simply giving you trouble one after the other. You're eternal being. You're eternal being. That is your identity. Srila Sanatana Goswami, when he met Chaitanya Prabhu in Varanasi, and then he asked Mahaprabhu, Kiyami, who am I? That's his first question to Chaitanya Prabhu. Because he was saying that many persons, they consider me to be very learned, very highly learned, because Sanatana Goswami, he was the prime minister of King Hussein Shah of Bengal. And also he was very highly learned person. He knew so many languages, Sanskrit, Persian language, Arabic. Because that time when they were ruling India, so which means to be an elite person, you must know Persian language or Arabic. You must know those to be considered an elite class of society. So Sanatana Goswami was very highly sophisticated, very highly learned person. So everybody call him Pandit, very learned person. So when he met Chaitanya Prabhu, he said that everyone is calling me Pandit. Everyone's identifying me as Pandit. Supposedly, I know everything. But he said that what kind of Pandit I am when I don't even know myself. I don't even know who I am. What kind of Pandit I am. So therefore, the first question he asked Chaitanya Prabhu is, who am I? So which means when we meet, when we are fortunate enough to meet a bona fide guru, a bona fide spiritual master, then the first question we have to ask the guru is that, who am I? What is my identity? What is my identity? That's the main question we have to ask the guru. Who am I? And the Guru will tell you, yeah, you are eternal servant of God. You're a servant of God. And what's your relation, the sambandha, the relationship with God is you're a servant. You're a spirit soul. That's your identity. You're a spirit person. Yeah, God is also a spirit soul, but there's a big difference. God is a supreme spirit, and you are the tiny jiva. Tiny jiva means tiny. Vibhinansa. Tiny jiva. So which means you can never be supreme, you can never be God, you always remain a servant. That's your identity. You're a servant of God. You are part and parcel of God. You come from God, but you are not God, and you can never become God. Even if you try, you can never become God. That has to be established. And of course, the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, they will say that, oh no, you are actually God. But under illusion, you forgot yourself because you are under illusion. You forgot yourself. So therefore, that illusion must be removed. And once that illusion is removed, then you know that you are God again. That's what Mayavad. That's Mayavad means they think that the what is brahma-strategical mithya, this material world is everything's under illusion because you're under illusion, so you are thinking that you are not that God. But once the illusion is removed, so what's that? Tatmānaṁ, then you are that. Tatmānaṁ means you are that God. You are that supreme person. But devotees, the bhaktas, they have a different interpretation of Tatmānaṁ. What is that Tatmānaṁ? No, you are Krishna Das. You are not Bhagavan. When you say Brahman, yes, Brahman as a spiritual identification, but you are not Param Brahman. That's a big difference. You are not Param Brahman. You are Brahman because you are a spiritual spark. You are eternal. Supreme Brahma is eternal. You're also eternal because you are part of that Brahma. But there's a permanent identification there, permanent demarcation that yes, you are Brahma, but you are tiny spark of Brahma. You are tiny sparks of Brahma. And the more you understand that, then the more you come to know that yes. And what is the relationship? What's the duty of that tiny spark? The duty of the tiny spark is to engage in the eternal servant, into an eternal service of the supreme being, the supreme Brahman. That's the identity to engage in that of that supreme being. So therefore, my Prabhu say, was that Jivara Swarup or Krishna Nitya Das. Jivara Swarup or Nitya Krishna. The Jiva is an eternal servant of Krishna. So like Krishna said in the chapter 15, he said, Mamai Vaso Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhota Sanatana, Manasaristani Driyane, Prakistani Kastate. That all the Jivas, they are my eternal part. They are my part and parcel on by all the Jivas. Mamai Vaso Jiva Loke, Ema Eva Jiva Bhota. They are my eternal part and parcel. But because they are in the material world, so they have to struggle with material energy. Because they are in the material world. But while we're in the material world, we're in the material world due to our own ignorance. Because we forgot who we are, we forgot our real identity. So therefore we're in the material world. And then we have to struggle with material energy. We have to struggle. So therefore, the process of yoga is to enable us to come to this realization. So, and when we engage in the practice of yoga, so as the Lord mentioned here, the result of this yoga practice is that a person become happy, brahma-sukhena. the brahma-sukha means the transcendental happiness. This transcendental happiness has nothing to do with material happiness. Because material happiness, there's always beginning and the end. In material world, one day you're happy, next day you're not happy. That's nature of material world. And especially our mind is always giving us trouble. The mind is always giving us trouble all the time. So therefore, when the mind is brought under control, and when the mind is fixed upon the self, and when we say the self means fixed upon the supreme self. So when the mind is fixed upon the supreme self, then there's a constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. Then he said that one achieve that perfect stage, that perfect happiness in Krishna consciousness. And then, so through the practice of yoga, I mentioned here that one is free of all material contamination. One is free of all material contamination, which means there's no more sinful habit. One is all these sins, the engagement in sinful activities is no more there. Actually, as Rupa Goswami, as he had enumerated in the Bhakti-yoga Sindhu, Nectar Devotion, that when one engage in the devotional service of the Lord, when one comes to devotional service of the Lord, the first symptoms, the first characteristics of a person who have come to engage in devotional service of the Lord is that he becomes free of all kinds of sinful reactions, which means of all kinds of sinful, both the sinful reactions from the past, and also the desire to commit sin again will also not be there, which means one is free from sinful reactions, one is free, and then the desire to commit sin also one is free from that, because there is one thing to be free from the sins that is already committed, but because we're in the material environment and the mind is always directing us, so which means the desire to commit future sin is always there. And because the desire to commit future sins is there, then you commit sin, then you get the reaction again. So when one engage in bhakti-yoga, which is devotional service to the Lord, then not only do one become free from all the past sinful reactions, all sinful reactions is come free, but this also one be free from the desire to commit sin. That is the difference from engagement in bhakti-yoga. So therefore, when this freedom is there, then mention here that there is the stage of perfect happiness. Brahma-saṁsparśam, which means because the brahma-sukha, the spiritual happiness this happiness is spiritual. So therefore, as Prabhupada mentioned in purport, that individual soul is part and parcel of Krishna, of the Supreme, and its position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This is bhakti-yoga. So this is the actual yoga practice. This is the actual practice of yoga. Because yoga means to link up with the Lord, to be in one with the Supreme. That's the meaning of yoga. And what is that linking up? The linking up means to render the transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. That's what yoga means. Yoga does not mean that one is artificially just sitting in one place and then one is just practicing some exercise, breathing this way, that way, or doing some different yoga gymnastics. That's not real yoga, and that kind of yoga practice, which is actually artificial yoga, that will not bring one any real happiness. You go into the city, everywhere you find so many so-called advertisements for yoga. Yoga this, yoga that. So many kind of yoga. Asya yoga, even there's a dog yoga. What kind of yoga is there in the West? So many of them. And those who are advertising the yoga, they are making so much money. Because they have yoga for this, yoga for that. You can do yoga with your dog, But it's just illusion. It's not really yoga. It's just illusion. So it's part of the way by which the material energy is tricking the living entities. But the real form of the real yoga practice is to become free from all material designations. It's to become free from this material environment and freedom from sinful activity, freedom from materialistic engagement, and then the engagement in one's eternal occupation. Eternal occupation is one's eternal loving service unto the Supreme Lord. That is yoga. And that is what Lord Krishna is teaching. At the end of this chapter, the Lord said, Yogina api salvation, Magatina ātmānam. Sadava bhajate yoma. That the Lord said, of all yogi, the one who's thinking of me, focus on me, and render devotional service unto me, that's a real yogi. I consider that one to be the topmost, to be the highest. So which means the engagement in Krishna consciousness practice, that is a real yoga. Bhakti-yoga is the highest form of yoga. Because you have different kind of yogas, like Patanjali, a great rishi, he had written yoga sutras, whereby people study yoga sutras and all that. But the whole purpose is to bring people to this level of coming to render service unto the Supreme Lord. This Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, that is real yoga. Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Jnana, Dana, Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means is the real wealth of the living entities. And by engagement in Bhakti Yoga, then the living entities can come to the Lord. So that's the gist, just the summary point of this content. Of course, the Prabhupada has been giving purport throughout this whole chapter. And there are many other purport by so many other great acharyas who have all been giving purport on this chapter. So the point is that we should not delude ourselves, thinking that there's another way of perfection in yoga practice, that the main yoga practice is to engagement in devotional service of the Lord. And that's what our acharya have given us. In Krishna consciousness, that's what they've given us. That yes, serve Krishna. Serve Krishna, chant Krishna's name, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, say Krishna Sika. Serve Krishna, chant Krishna's name, and take Krishna prasad, and then your life will be successful. Then you'll be happy. You'll be a happy person. So Krishna consciousness is, that's why we say, chant and be happy, take and be happy. But how can you be happy? But you have to be happy in Krishna consciousness if you do things the right way, the way it's been instructed here. Then you'll be happy. And this is not the teaching. There has to be selflessness. It's not that, okay, we don't come to Krishna consciousness because we want to enjoy Krishna. We come to Krishna consciousness because we want to engage ourselves in the service of Krishna. Engagement in service of Krishna. That yes, a devotee's main concern is what will make Krishna happy. What's going to give Krishna anukoyena srinana? What is most favorable for Krishna? That's a devotee's real concern. Like here in Vrindavan, we always hear about the gopis of Vrindavan, about the great devotees of Vrindavan. But what is their characteristics? Their characteristic is that they're always performing activities for the pleasure of Krishna. They don't consider their own what's good for them. They don't consider that. Their only consideration is what is good for Krishna, what will make Krishna happy. So there was one time when Narada Muni, he had come to Vrindavan. So Narada Muni came to Vrindavan, and he actually brought a news to Vrindavan that because that time the Krishna was in Dwarka. So Narada Muni had come to Vrindavan, and he said that, oh, Krishna is having a headache. Krishna is having some fever and headache. So when the Vijayabhasi, when they heard this, they say, oh, Krishna is having a fever. What is this? What? So they started they started lamenting that, oh, how Krishna is having fever, headache. So what is this? What is the solution for this sickness of Krishna? So Narada Muni said the solution is if all of you can give the dust of your feet. If you cannot give the dust of your feet, and this dust will cure Krishna. This dust of your foot, Krishna is going to apply it on his head, and it's going to cure him of his sickness. So when all the Vijayabhasi heard this, immediately they all started gathering the dust of their foot. Now, it so happened that how can you put the dust of your foot on Bhagavan, the Lord's head? So when the Muni told them that if you put the dust of your foot on Krishna's head, Bhagavan, I don't think that's going to be some, that's path to hell. So the Vijayabhasi replied that we can go to hell. It doesn't matter where we go. The point is for Krishna to be cured. We don't care for ourselves. All we care for is for Krishna. If for Krishna to be good, those are our caring. Our happiness is to see Krishna happiness. No other. So that's the Buddhist consideration, which is the highest form of yoga, which is the very high. So this is what Bhakti scriptures, this is what they are teaching. High devotee, no longer having the personal concern, but the concern of Krishna. And of course, a devotee is always happy. A devotee is never sad. He's never distressed. So thank you very much for listening. If there's any question, you can please ask. I hope you were able to hear me. Is it? Huh?
It's very clear.
Okay. So is there any question? Yes,
Like, we have to serve Krishna. So serving Krishna is serving somebody is physically available, yes, we can serve. But serving Krishna always, we have Krishna with us. So how can we serve Krishna always? It's okay, when we listen, when we pray, we can serve him. Otherwise, it doesn't go. Then we think of ourselves and our family and other things like that. How to understand it?
So the best way to serve Krishna is to serve under the guidance of a competent guru. So because we cannot serve Krishna directly, we have to serve Krishna through a guru, somebody who represents Krishna. So he's a bona fide guru who can give us proper direction on how to serve Krishna directly. So that's the only way actually. Is through a guru. Because a bona fide guru is a confidential, is a servant, is always serving Krishna 24 hours a day. So if you are lucky to find such a person, then we submit to him and he will guide us how we can serve Krishna non-stop, 24 hours a day. If you are willing to follow his instruction. So another thing that yes, we find a guru, but we're not willing to follow the guru. So we can only blame ourselves. But if we are surrendered enough, we follow the direction of a guru, then we always remain engaged. Because we always remain engaged, then the thought of our so-called family members, this will not be there. And of course, we can make our family members, we make them Krishna conscious. That's the thing, we make them Krishna conscious, our family members. Only service to Krishna will give satisfaction to the soul, nothing else. Anybody else you serve in this material world, they will never be satisfied. The more you serve you give somebody, the more they want from you. It's an experience we all have. our family members, are they ever satisfied? No. The more you give, the more they want. If you don't give them, then they start blaming you, they start condemning you. That's a fact of life. It doesn't matter what you have. You may be the richest person in this world, still it's the same thing. It's the same. The only person who can be satisfied always is Krishna. A little thing that you give, Krishna is happy. You give something, when Krishna was giving, when Ātmānam he wrote, the name of Krishna was written on a tulsi leaf. And that leaf, tulsi leaf, was given to Ātmānam. And I'm going to say, oh, this is the greatest benediction, to have the name of Krishna. So, a little thing you do, the Lord say, will become indebted to you. Even chant his name, chant around his name, Krishna said, become indebted to you. He is the perfect master. In this material world, nobody is perfect. They all want something. No matter what you do for them, they are never happy. Okay. Hare Krishna.